Janitorial Manager presents the Business of Cleaning podcast, the podcast that brings you the information you need to be successful in the cleaning industry. The Business of Cleaning podcast provides in-depth interviews with successful personalities from the commercial cleaning industry, as well as discussing the trending topics that matter to you and your organization. Welcome into the Business of Cleaning podcast, your number one source for information on the commercial cleaning industry. We release new episodes monthly, live from the Janitorial Manager studio located here in Toledo, Ohio. I'm Tim Clegg, the Marketing Communications Specialist here at AA Solutions and your host of the Business of Cleaning podcast. This month's episode, we'll be talking with Nate Lucht, owner of Spotless Enterprise Corp, located in central Wisconsin. Nate, welcome into the show. We're really grateful to have you on this month's episode.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. I'm really excited to be here, share my journey with the audience. The cleaning industry is one of those things that's often overlooked, and so I'm excited to be able to provide some kind of value to anyone looking to grow in this field.
Let's start in your 20s. That's where you were working several different jobs, from the medical field, working in schools, the auto industry, but they all seemed unfulfilling and not challenging you. When did you realize that you're kind of at a roadblock situation and had to find something that you were going to be able to challenge yourself and grow every day?
It didn't happen overnight. I ain't gonna lie. It was a slow realization at first. I kept feeling like I was just going through the motions. I was just collecting a paycheck, but not really growing. And that's kind of where I questioned what I was doing. I remember a moment when I was working a job and I looked around and I thought, is this really what I want to do for the next 10, 20, 30 years? Now, don't get me wrong. People do that and they enjoy it, and that's great. But that question really stuck with me, and I knew I needed something that would push me, that would challenge me, that would force me to grow. A lot of times I've noticed that when you are working a job, the parameters are set and you have to stay in your lane. This is your responsibilities and your duties. And it was unfulfilling for me. I needed something where I could make a direct impact. I didn't want to settle. I didn't want to settle on myself and my family, and I wanted to build something meaningful. And so that's what got me going in the direction of that entrepreneur mindset, that business owner mindset. Not gonna lie, those doubts of well, who are you to say you can run a business? Who are you to say that you can have employees and provide, a paycheck to everyone? So it was a slow progression. It was a slow realization of, I need something different.
And that something that was different, finding a home in the commercial cleaning industry. How did cleaning fit into these conversations, self-reflections, and what led you to landing on the cleaning industry?
Honestly, I didn't grow up dreaming about running a cleaning company. But what I did want was that control over my future, that control over my paycheck, that control over my calendar. I think that's a big one. And when I started looking at industries where I could make an impact, cleaning stood out only because I vividly remember in my teenage years, I always had a clean room. My mom can vouch for this. Mom, if you're listening to this episode, you can vouch for this. My spot was nice and clean. My brother's spots and sister's room was always disorganized and messy, because I always took pride in presenting myself in a clean, fashionable way and resetting the room. And there's one specific moment that I remember where it was down on my luck. It was at a point in my time where I was unemployed. I just ended a fairly toxic relationship, and coming out of that, I got home one night. I looked around and I'm like, this place is spotless. That's where the name came from.
Yes.
And I just saw an opportunity to create something different in my world, something that could be both profitable and purpose driven. Purpose driven is, hey, I'm good at this. I get to do this more often. And profitable because, as we all know, the growing market, the growing industry of the cleaning realm, I should say. So great question.
And you mentioned profit,
Mm.
year number one, how did you stay positive and have a positive mindset when you were challenged? You know, as a lot of new owners are, you don't strike gold right away, day one, year one. You in year one profited $10,000. What allowed you to stay the course and focus on the big picture?
Yeah, it was not easy. And a lot of people might say, well, what's that golden ticket? What's that one thing I need to know in my life that's going to get me to the next thing? And of course, for everyone, it's different.
Hmm.
I'm not going to lie, that first year was tough because I was using what's that, Craigslist. I was using
Yeah.
Craigslist to advertise my residential cleaning services. So I started off in homes and I worked crazy hours. I worked sometimes there was one time I did 4 homes in a day. I don't recommend that. And so I took everything upon myself because it was, me, myself, and I. That's all I had. But it was this constant push forward despite the doubts. And here's the thing, every setback was and is a lesson. And so instead of focusing on what I didn't have, I didn't have employees, I didn't have a consistent schedule, I didn't have this, that, and the other. I looked at what I was building. And I think that right there really allowed me to see the positive. Even with just, that $10,000 in profit, I had a foundation. I had something I could build off of. And I told myself, even though there was a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears, if I can get through this, I can figure out how to scale it, because it's that metric, that stepping
Hmm.
stone. And it was all about mindset, focusing on growth and not just the immediate results.
What from that first year experience for you would you say was eye-opening as an owner? That's something that you would share with people that are within their first year or starting in their own business currently.
I don't want to sound like the devil's advocate, but the biggest realization that I had is no one's coming to save you. No one's going to be like, all right, Nate, take my hand. I'm going to give you money. I'm going to give you the freedom, the time, the flexibility, then to go do what you want. In business, you don't have a boss guiding you. Yes, you have mentors, you
Hmm.
have coaches, and a lot of people do get there. You have to figure things out. You have to make tough calls and keep going when things do get hard. Also, I learned that systems matter. Man, documenting, writing stuff down. I mean, if you want to track something, if you want some tangible metrics, start writing stuff down. Systems matter. And if I wanted to scale, I just couldn't win it. I couldn't, create everything from, what I had in my brain. I really had to start thinking strategically about hiring, about operations, about customer relationships, and everything that had to happen. And yes, you can buy systems, you can buy processes, you can have someone give that stuff to you. But I feel going through building that foundation, laying the foundation for a skyscraper, not just a duplex, was probably the biggest thing of recognizing, nope, Nate, you have to take responsibility for this. So that'd be my biggest thing.
Any big challenges that you made to the organization, breakthroughs from year one to year two, that was kind of that epiphany, that aha moment where you realize, you know what? I can do this. And then things started happening.
Yeah, I think that really stemmed from metrics. Looking back, there's a reason why we have a rear view mirror in our cars is to glance back every now and then, and why the windshield is so large. And so for me, being able to look back and congratulate myself on the efforts, congratulate myself and be proud of what I accomplished, even as minute and small it may seem, it really stemmed from looking at what I made. Because a lot of times we're always striving,
Hmm.
getting, trying to grasp what's the next thing instead of looking back at what we've accomplished. Be like, Nate, I'm so proud of you. And so for me, going into year two, I started looking, okay, now that I'm documenting everything, now that I'm taking that time to look back and say, yeah, no, you are doing something great here, really allowed me to push myself into a different position where then year two, now it's just compounding. And as you know, Tim, that the compounding effect, the consistent compound effect, man, you're once you start going and you keep going consistently, big things are going to happen. So for year two, it was it was moving from that operator mindset into a business owner, an entrepreneur. So that was huge for me.
You touched on something we're going to spend some time a little bit later in this episode on, stopping and celebrating the wins. And we'll talk about that here a little bit later on because not a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
When we talked a few weeks ago, you discussed the purpose of being able to serve others. Can you go into that and how that means so much to you personally as well as professionally?
Yeah. I believe that service is at the heart of everything we do, personally and professionally, and of course, in Nate's point of view here. In business, if you focus on serving your employees, your customers, your community, your neighborhood, you build something that lasts. And personally, I believe that we're called to serve other people. You know, I was not put on this earth just to take care of myself. Like, think about it. When you're shoveling snow on the sidewalk, you're not just doing that for yourself. You're doing
Mm-hmm.
that for the mailman. You're doing that for passerbyers. You're doing that for other people in your neighborhood who are now utilizing or they're getting the benefit from what you did. And so the service mentality, you know, it's stop thinking just about profit, you know, and being able to start thinking about that impact. Okay, if I'm in this service, if I am here to serve, you know, whether you're a faith-based person or not, I am. It has a very huge impact on, oh, I'm doing this for other people, and that, man, once you get that ingrained and on the front of your mind all the time, everything you do is going to have more joy in it because it's not just, oh, yep, Nate, you have to go do this. No, it's like, Nate, you get to do this because you're helping not just one person, you know, that sidewalk. I'm not the only one that uses that sidewalk.
Right.
And so just having that, you know, that servant type mindset really puts you in a different perspective of it's not about profit, it's about impact.
How has serving others contributed to the long-term client relationships and overall business growth?
Yeah, love that question. So your clients can really tell when you genuinely care about them. It's like I said, we don't just clean buildings. We solve problems. We save lives. We help kids learn. We provide support to teachers. Like it's not just about cleaning. It's building that trust and just compounding on that. And that's why we have long-term relationships with our clients because they know that we're invested in their success, not just collecting a check. And it boils down to it turns into a relationship. You know, it turns into that partnership instead of a transaction. And as I mentioned you a couple weeks ago, the transactions happen on your phone through your banking app. That's a transaction. A relationship, a partnership happens in that service industry. And I think with that mindset, that is what has kept clients with us for all that period of time because we're in this together. Like we're a part of their team. I even walk into some of the buildings, hey team, and it's like it's my client, but they know that, oh, no, you're right, he's right. You know, we are a team in this. So that really helped us a lot.
Where and what advice would you give the business owners who have, let's say, struggled and failed in this area about creating a service first mindset?
Yeah. Gonna reiterate what I said. It's really stop thinking about transactions and start thinking about relationships. You know, ask yourself, how can I make life easier for my client? How can I make life easier for my customer? Also, applying this mindset internally, serving your employees. You know, a business thrives when the people feel valued. So it's not just having that mentality, that mindset of, oh, what can I do for my clients? But it's also what can I do for my
Mhm.
employees? Because as you know, Tim, I mean, I'm sure you've been an employee in many organizations. It feels incredible to feel valued as an employee,
Absolutely.
you know, and to be able to provide that level of relationship, you know, instead of looking at, oh, well, this building inspection came across my plate and it does not look good. Let's put him on probation. You know, let's reduce his hours. Looking at it's like, okay, Jake, is everything okay? You know, how's your home life? Building that rapport, building that relationship, I think is huge. And it definitely starts with having that intentionality to do so. Yeah, stop thinking about that transaction, start looking at it as a relationship.
We're talking with Nate Lucht, owner of Spotless Enterprise Corp out of central Wisconsin. One of the quotes you mentioned a few weeks ago was true growth lies in the failures. Can you share a specific failure in your cleaning journey that ultimately did lead to specific growth? We talked about year one to year two, but maybe something a little bit further down the road that at the time you thought, oh my gosh, this is a huge, huge deal. I don't know how we're going to continue. And then ultimately, you come out of the other side better than what you did before.
Oh, heck yeah. I haven't always loved failure, especially when you're in it. A lot, and I know a lot of people can vouch for that. And so specifically early on, I took on a contract that was huge. I saw dollars, because when you're starting a company, when you're starting a business, you need cash, like you need
Yeah.
income. And so you say yes. You're a yes man. You're a yes woman. You say yes to everything. And gosh, a couple weeks into it, I'm looking around and I'm cleaning because saying yes to something that you're not fully prepared for. It's like, well, Nate, now you got to wear the cleaning hat. We struggled to keep up. The quality suffered. We almost lost a client. And instead of beating myself up, I asked, well, what went wrong? And which turned the question into, okay, what did I learn? My goodness, that failure. And we still have them today, and that's the beautiful thing about it because I was looking at it from a relationship, and I was open with the client. I was like, hey, you probably noticed some quality control issues here. I think that's another thing too is fessing up to like, hey,
Yeah.
this is not working, but here's how I'm going to take care of you. Here's how I'm going to take care of this. I'm personally vested to making sure this is right. But asking that question, what went wrong? And through the process, what are we learning? What are we learning? And just having those two questions really helped shift the perspective because, it's all mindset. It forced me to improving hiring, the training, scheduling. And in the end, it really made us stronger because we approached it of what can we learn from this instead of that life sentence. It's that life sentence
Hmm.
versus learning lesson. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't always like that growing up. As a kid, it was always, well, this is my life sentence. This is who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. So adapting that mindset of what went wrong and what did I learn was absolutely huge.
How do you encourage your team? You mentioned instead of, hey, taking hours away, to embrace the mistakes as learning, training opportunities rather than this is a roadblock. We can push through this and have that mentality.
For sure. So one of our core values is empathy, and it's a big word. There's actually we and in the third interview that we have, and yes, we do three interviews. The third interview that we had, we asked the question, and we go through our core values, and we're like, okay, what does this word mean to you? What does empathy mean to you? And they'll give us a response, and after we get all of their responses, we'll be like, hey, by the way, these are our core values. And so empathy, we definitely try to wear on our sleeves. But don't get me wrong, there's a time where it turns into a business decision. Like
Mhm.
if someone is losing you thousands and thousands of dollars, okay, there's another conversation that has to happen. But it's making sure that first I'm going to humanize the relationship that I have with them and allow them to see that I'm part of the team. And second, allowing them to make a mistake. All right. So it's okay to make telling them, it's okay to make mistakes, but we're not going to ignore them. We have a culture where we talk about what went wrong and not only how did we fix it, but how are we going to avoid that issue again? Growth only happens when you're willing to learn. And if you have that learning mentality, you are going to grow. And so setting them up for opportunities, it's like, okay, for instance, a prime example, we had an employee, quality control was lacking hardcore, and the client is like, "Hey, we no longer want your services." And this happened within weeks.
Man.
What happened was, sure, we lost that client, and I think it was, gosh, it was like a $20,000 annual client. So it was a smaller one, but it's like, okay, for the sake of keeping them, protecting their name, Susie, you now are worth $20,000 more to us because of that experience because of that obstacle that we went through. Therefore, now you know what not to do. And of course, quality control stepped in on our side, that communication. But giving the people the space to be like, hey, it's okay to make mistakes. Let's not ignore them. Let's address them. Let's learn from them. So, yeah, just provide again. It's relationship providing that space for that relationship is huge.
Something I think that's very interesting, and I know it's very important to you, are your employees, valuing them. 50 to 60% of your employees don't know
Mm.
that you are the owner. Kind of describe that, and do you prefer them not knowing that you're the owner of the company?
Oh yeah, I love it when employees don't know that I'm the owner. I believe titles can create barriers. Titles can create barriers, and I want my employees to see me as someone who's in the trenches with them, someone who's a part of the team, someone who has leveled that playing field and got rid of the titles, not just boss.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people know you care about them as a person, they perform better, they stay longer, they feel more connected to the company. Of course, if I have to step in as the owner, it's like, okay, by the
Switch
way, Jake,
hats.
I'm the owner. That was totally uncalled for, or whatever the situation
Yeah.
calls for. But allowing them to see, hey, that's Nate, he's part of the team, to me is huge. Just because in so many organizations, when people are coming into our company, they know title happy people. Hey, I'm the boss here. I'm the owner. Go do this. Go take care of that. And I don't want that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the people who do know that I'm employees, or the employees that do know that I'm the owner, I have a great relationship with my leadership team that then they will step in place of me, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense, and continue to maintain that relationship. Because if Nate steps in, they know that I'm the owner. Oh, now I really got to shape up, or I'm going to get shipped out. So yeah, it's fun having them not know that I'm the owner. Because again, the titles can create those barriers in that relationship, and then they don't open up to you. Then they're not honest with
Mm-hmm.
how they're doing. Then they're not. Yeah. Then they're not being
Authentic.
they're just not be authentic. There's the word. Thank you. Yeah.
Something I thought was interesting, you and I were talking, something that you take seriously and want to focus on quite a bit is drawing attention to humanizing business that the business owner has with their employees. What steps do you take to build those meaningful relationships with your employees beyond just a business dynamic?
I really think it boils down to that I listen. It's not saying that no one else does, but some of the questions that we ask in the interview process are where do you personally want to be in 2 years? What do you want to purchase in the next 5 years? Where do you want a vacation in the next 3 years? And something as simple as what's your favorite candy bar and favorite soda or favorite drink? And what that does, it just opens up a space for us as on the leadership team to be able to, okay, their first day of work, guess what they're going to have on their janitor cart? Their favorite candy and their favorite drink, sports drink, whatever that is.
Mhm.
For more longer term goals, we go back through some of these employees' files and be, okay, I vividly remember Alex told us in 2 years they want to apply for college. That was their goal. Great. So what is Spotless going to do in about a year and a half's time, maybe even a year's time? Hey, which college do you think you're going to apply for? All right. So when someone recognizes that and this sounds so cliche, we're not a family, that's a
Right.
whole nother conversation,
Yeah. Yep.
but we're an organization that cares about you as a human being. Business is about people. And I hope people never forget that business is about people. And yes, there's people out there that view business as just profit, just money. That's not us. Um, we're really in it for the people. And I think I mentioned to you this before, Tim, that we are a people company. Spotless is a people company that happens to have cleaning services. All right. So if we're a people company, we're going to do what we can, where we can, with what we have to make sure that we are building relationships with our team members, whether that's once a month we do this, whether it's lands on a holiday or before the holiday. So March, it's St. Patrick's month. So we're going to
Hmm.
bag up a bunch of green stuff, whether it's candies, pens, um, gift cards, whatever it looks like. We're going to set them on everyone's cart before they come into work or bump into them while they're working. And so I feel it really does take a level of intentionality to be like, hey, I want to develop a relationship with you. Why? Because we're a people company. That's the why behind what we do. So yeah, business is about people. Business is about building those relationships and going back to that, that servant mentality.
What lessons, as you are so close with your employees, have your employees taught you about leadership and business?
Oh man, you can't treat everyone the same. You
Right.
can't like, okay, I've got all these employees on board. This is how we see them on paper. So let's just, do this, and they're all going to reciprocate the same. That's a lie. Everyone is different, and there's some people that are completely opposite ends of the spectrum, and that's okay. That is okay. There's an employee that we talk to this way. There's an employee we talk to this way. They need more direct. They need more consoling, comforting, encouraging. And so recognizing that, hey, you've got a melting pot. You have a melting pot of people. And even a step further, letting the leadership team know that. So then they can be the feet, they can be the hands to go out and be like, hey, these two people, they listen the same and they talk the same. These two people talk this way and they listen this way. So recognizing, yeah, it's a melting pot. Don't beat yourself up if you go to this client tonight and you talk to this Susie about, what's happening in her life, and you take that same conversation and you try to bring it over here where they're very introverted. They don't say much. They just want to keep their head down and work. And so that's why, meeting them where they're at and recognizing that everyone communicates differently really does help.
How does prioritizing the strong employee relationships impacted your retention and company culture? Because your retention is almost 90% that we were discussing a few weeks ago, which is pretty darn incredible.
Yeah, it's hmm, yeah, valuing them. I really think when it boils down to retention, because everyone has these employee retention plans and what have you, and recognizing that in the cleaning industry, yes, don't get me wrong, yes, there's some people that want to clean for the next 35 years. Most of the people, however, they're coming for a season. And if you're able to be that stepping stone for that person, creating a doorway where we are a doorway, we're not a doormat, creating that doorway, creating that opportunity for people to make that extra cash for a season, to help develop their communication skills, to help develop their relationship skills, whether that's you going every Wednesday night at 5:30 to 7:30 and helping them out. You know, yeah, I think it really boils down to valuing who they are, recognizing where they are, meeting them where they're at, and continuously letting them know what you're doing in the business. Because a lot of people, they want to grow, and let's
Mhm.
say they didn't want to put themselves into a position where they need extra cash, they're going to clean at night, but all of a sudden they find out, hey, there's a new leadership position available. Hey, there's another client that needs X amount of hours cleaning and it's going to pay them this much. Well, they might walk into that and be like, I can take care of this. And so, providing that space, providing that opportunity for them to grow, I also think really does help for retention.
You kind of hit on something there that kind of want to spend just a second asking you a follow up on was you see these opportunities. What other discussions do you have with your team as far as keeping them up to date? Hey, let's look at our 2024 year in review. Here's where we are with our goals for 2025. What do those conversations look like to involve your employees in?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a fun question. We do newsletters every month, sending, smaller company updates, new hires, congratulating people who have hit a milestone, whether it's they've been in the company for X amount of years or we receive this wow comment from our client. I really think too, it's going to where they are, and we're all across central Wisconsin. So there's sometimes an hour and a half in between employees. But being intentional about, hey, we're so grateful you're on board. Here's some new updates. And I think even going a step further is like, and we believe you'd be a great fit for this position. Like a lot of people don't see what they're really good at and or don't see where they can grow, and that's why mentors and coaches are great. And so if we're growing, not if we're growing, when we're growing, we recognize those opportunities and we make sure that we're keeping people in the loop of, hey, this is where we're going. All right. So it's 2025. I'll send out some goals for the year. This is what we're working on as an organization. And man, this is big too. And I think letting them know that they're also a part of that growth, because if they're maintaining our core value consistency, if they're maintaining that consistency, that helps with the growth of the organization. So if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, if they're continuing that relationship with that client, that allows us to grow, and that provides them more opportunities to grow and be a part of that growth. And so I can vouch for that, and in several instances where people are excited to hear what's happening in the company. They really are. Sure, it's a cleaning company, great, we got another client, but letting the team know, hey, we've got two new people on board. We have two positions available. We've got more hours over here. By the end of 2025, this is where we would love to see ourselves. Continue to join us, continue to showing up for that growth. I think it's huge. Involving them, there it is. Involving them
Yes.
in business, involving them in the business as much as you can.
We talked a little bit earlier. You just kind of scratch at the surface and teased it a little bit, which was pausing to celebrate the wins. Why do
Hmm.
you think so many cleaning owners and teams in this industry often overlook and don't stop and celebrate their wins?
Yeah, that is a loaded question. And I just had a conversation with my mentor this morning. It's we're so task-oriented people. We live in a microwave society. And so it's always the next thing, always going, going,
Yeah.
going. And because we're so focused on the next task, we don't acknowledge the process. And when you don't acknowledge the process, you burn out. So being able to recognize the wins, it I feel like keeps that morale high, not only in the team, but with yourself, and,
Yeah.
and reminds everyone why the work matters. And even a step further into that, it's not just celebrating the wins, it's also celebrating the efforts. For instance, if you sent out a bid to XYZ client and you didn't get the bid, well, that is a great opportunity to figure out, okay, reach back out to them. Okay, hey, we're, touching back here. Curious to know what made you decide to go another XYZ organization. So being able to celebrate the progress of, oh, now we learned something different. Now we can strategize a little bit differently. I also think it's huge too. So yeah, celebrating the wins, look at it in the rear view mirror and be like, man, look how far we've gotten. Look at what we accomplished. And if we take the time to do that, we're not going to feel as rushed. We can be more in the moment. Like I said before, because we're trying to go so fast, achieve the next goal, get the next client, hire the next employee. We're not recognizing what we've built and what we've created really does create this sense of hurry, and then you burn out. So if you're able to pause and reflect on everything that we've accomplished, and I say we collectively, because Tim, you can probably vouch for the
Yep.
same thing. I mean, look where you are today. It's beautiful. Recognize that, wow, Nate, I'm proud of you, man. Look at what you did. I'm so happy for you. All right, let's get ready for what's next. I think it's big.
I think one of my favorite movies from the 80s, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, says it
Mm,
best. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. You could
mm,
miss all these wins. You could miss the things
yeah,
that you should
yeah.
be celebrating and enjoying. Do you have a tradition or some kind of ritual in uh, the company for recognizing these wins and involving the employees?
Oh, heck yeah. So when we do have wins like that, we address it pretty quick. Whether it's 2 hours or 24 hours. 24 hours is our max. Like we want every team member to know that this specific individual crushed it. So giving them that recognition is huge. So doing shout outs and meetings. We like doing bonuses, those extra effort bonus is what we call it, where we get these raven reviews, or not even from our clients. We will, when we do audits, when we do our building inspections, we'll go through and we're like, holy cow, no wonder it's been so quiet here. We haven't heard anything because the place looks awesome, and so I'll be like, hey, Jacob did an incredible job at XYZ organization, kudos to him, and then we'll, give them into his bonus. That simple thank you goes a long way. Um, but I feel with an employee, it's a thank you and something else. A thank you and a handshake is great, but a thank you and here's a $50 gas card. Here's a $25 Starbucks card. Really shows that, oh, my boss does care. He's willing to give me something more. He's willing to give me something above and beyond what I'm already signed on board to do. I think is pretty big.
Do you think that acknowledging wins also has an effect on client relationships as well? If so, how?
I really think so, because it shows that we're making it a team effort. We're making the organization our organization. So when we go into new clients, I look at the team and I'm like, all right, this is our building now. So there's that pride, there's that ownership that steps into play. And if you're able to reciprocate that to your client, be like, hey, by the way, this is our building too. And our team member did an incredible job, and we are so proud of him. My gosh, that's going to speak volumes to your client. Your client's going to be like, they're taking care of us, a company that cares, wow, this is a relationship. Yeah, that's a really good question.
You recently wrote an article for CMM Online titled, Don't Give Up on Your Cleaning Business. You're very passionate about making sure that owners, new businesses in the industry are successful. Why is that so important to you?
Oh, man. How much time do we have? I have seen too many business owners walk away when they were just on the edge of success. It's at 3 feet from gold. Cleaning is an industry that I feel requires resilience, because there are tough clients, there are staffing challenges, there's operational hurdles. But my gosh, they're a part of the journey. Like I said, no one's going to give you everything you need to know, and then you're going to be successful. I'm sorry. You have to go through the mud. And so the reason why I'm so passionate about keeping business owners in the cleaning industry is that I know the potential it holds. Actually, I take that back. I know some of the potential, because I am selling myself to stay every day, every single day. And so cleaning business it's not just a job. I believe it's an opportunity to build financial stability, the flexibility, create jobs for other people, and provide a service, because we're service based, that genuinely impacts communities. Like, I've been in the trenches. I remember the days when I questioned, was this all worth it? And when I looked at the numbers and thought, is this it? Like, is that all there is? But I also remember the breakthroughs. Again, looking back in the rearview mirror, the first big client, the first time I stepped away from daily operations and saw my team thrive, giving that responsibility and the authority to make decisions. Too often, I feel too often people quit when they feel isolated. And that's why we're big proponents for making sure that we have a relationship with our employees, going and seeing them often. Because sometimes if we don't hear from them, it could be 3 months before, oh, hey, I need more rags, or I need more of this. And so even employees and business owners, this applies alike. We will quit if we feel isolated. So they assume their struggles mean, business owners, they assume their struggles mean that they're failing. But in reality, everyone in the business, everyone in this industry goes through those same trials. And my goodness, if we could get more people to just push through that tough middle ground, I feel we would see more success stories. And that's why I talk about it so much. It's because I don't want to see someone walk away when they're just a few smart moves away from thriving. And that's really where my passion lies. And I would love to put myself in a position where I'm able to help people get past that. Well, woe is me. I'm looking around. I am not going to make it. It's that how does that quote go? If you're walking through hell, or if you're in hell, keep walking. Keep walking. Keep making different decisions. They're going to position you into a different spot, because as you know, Tim, what's the definition of insanity? It's making the same decision over and over and over. And so making those smart moves, making those smart decisions, I really think it's your steps away from thriving. So that's why I'm so passionate about it.
How important is it for cleaning business owners to find their support network, and
Mm,
what steps can they take to build those relationships within the industry to help keep them motivated? Well, there's tons of
yeah.
opportunities. I mean, whether it's a trade show, whether it's ISSA North America or any other shows like that across the United States, or the tool that you and I hooked up on,
Hmm.
LinkedIn. It's
Hmm.
free.
Hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. As you know, I get so worked up when people says, "Yeah, I'm a self-made this. I'm a self-made millionaire. I'm a self-made billionaire." No, no, you're not. No, you're not. No one builds a great business alone. And you hit the nail on the head. It's like there's so many opportunities to find that support network and to be able to stay motivated. But I also feel like it comes down to being intentional about it, wanting to get help. Because as I remember this very well as a business owner when I started, it's like I know everything. I'm a business owner. It's on my business card, CEO, founder. It's like I know everything, and I knew absolutely nothing. And so recognizing that, no, I do need help, and help is okay. Help is okay. And so, yeah, I just want to encourage the other business owners, the cleaning business owners that are out there. It's recognizing that, hey, there are areas where you might not thrive in that someone else is doing really well, and vice versa. So, like you said, joining groups or associations, finding a mentor or a peer group, surrounding yourselves with like-minded people, and I think a big one too is setting clear goals. And tracking your progress, tracking those metrics, being able to look back and say, no, I am doing something right. Um, Everyone struggles. Everyone struggles. It's recognizing that, hey, I'm struggling. I should probably find some help. Instead of wallowing in that. So yeah, that's a really good question.
One of the resources you provide is you are also a podcast host as well. And it is on just different daily leadership and challenging people. And I think it's pretty interesting. I mean, that's one of the things that really kind of caught my attention was the challenges, the questions that you pose to people, and just the sheer positivity.
Mm. Yeah, the podcast, if I may share that, it's
Yeah.
called Inspirational Outlook. The title speaks for itself. I want to be able to inspire people to have a different lens, to ask those tough questions, to really get people to think. Man, if more people just thought.
Hmm.
We do a lot of quick decisions, quick acting, responding instead
Yeah,
of,
let's just
okay,
throw it in Chat GPT,
oh
right?
my
Get a quick
gosh, yeah,
answer and we'll be done and we can
there you
move on to the
go.
next thing.
There you go. So we live in a society where we just want it right now.
Right.
And so if we really stopped and thought about, okay, how does this question apply to my life, and what can I do to change? There's so many people who are drowning, but they're afraid to ask for help. I've got this. I'm fine. I'm doing just fine. See, I'm still floating. But man, they're not only drowning in their personal relationships, they're drowning in their professional relationships. And if I'm able to spread hope, if I'm able to spread some type of inspiration to one person, like I've done my job. I believe that because I'm a man of faith, the ministry, my ministry starts within these four walls. I'm in my house. I'm in my office at my house right now. So it starts here and then it goes out from there. So if I'm able to impact my children, my wife, and then I look at the business. If I'm able to inspire an employee, Tim, if I'm a man, this is fun. If I'm able to inspire an employee to quit and go do something that they truly have desired and dreamed about, well, guess what Nate's going to do? I'm going to make them quit because I believe that there's so many people who just need that kick in the butt. Be like, all right, go do,
Yeah.
apply for that position. It's already a no. So what is stopping you from, you know, what is stopping you? And of course we get in our heads and there's a whole nother conversation. But
Yeah.
yeah, I want to inspire people. I really want to inspire people and allowing them to recognize, no, you're almost there. You're almost there.
As we look at 2025, everybody's obviously got their goals in place. Um, What are your guys' goals here for the next year or two? I mean, you guys, one of the great things that I enjoyed during our conversation, you're at a point where you know your employees. Sometimes there's companies where there's 200, 300, 400 employees. You may not know them all, but you have that kind of perfect number. What are your guys' goals? What are you guys focusing on in 2025? And what are some of the challenges that you may face in central Wisconsin this year?
So some of our goals, one of the bigger ones is to finalize our leadership program. It's going to be called Spotless Leadership. And it's basically going to I'm going to target our leadership team and go through it talking about the basics of leadership. How to talk to someone who's going through a difficult time. What does leadership look like? What is it not? And so we're launching that the first week in March here. So next week, I'm
Oh,
really excited about this.
awesome. That's exciting.
And yeah, and so it's going to be on Zoom, so the leaders can be wherever they are. The last couple ones are going to be in person because it's going to be a workshop. So I really want our leaders to know that they are leaders. Sure, there's manager on their business card. Sure, it's in their signature, but they're leaders. And so making that at the front of their mind, so every decision that they do, every interaction that they have, it's like, well, first I'm on their team. This is a relationship, and I'm here to support them as best as I can is huge. And so that's a big one. That was in the works for quite a while, for at least a couple of years, and it's finally come to fruition. So we got the outline, I've got the content ready, I've got the copy ready to basically go through, all right, day one, how's leadership defined? So that's really exciting. Another goal for us is I'm looking at acquiring a cleaning company. I would
That's
love to
exciting.
be able to step into another organization, see how it operates, because that's a different challenge all in itself. Everyone's
Absolutely.
very set in their ways, and here comes Nate with his culture cap, and leadership skills. But being able to take a different lens of that and just let things sit and simmer for a while. And so we have a couple. I have a couple conversations out there, emails out there in regards to, hey, are you guys looking at being acquired? Are you looking at getting more support? I think that would be a better way to look at that.
Mhm.
And it's really exciting because, like I said, there's going to be challenges, but I feel those challenges are going to just grow the company all the better. Like I want those challenges. I don't want it to be easy. As nice as that sounds, it's like, oh yeah, acquiring another business is easy. Well, or it was easy. And so I want to learn. Like I love learning. Um, and and focusing on that. And I think one of the other goals that's been ongoing for a while is we kind of did the whole franchising thing, building a franchise model. I started this from the scratch, so this is just me,
Mhm.
myself, and I who built this. But taking our model and getting it out there to others who can then take what we have. But I think I might move it towards more the licensing side of things, where people they don't have a monthly royalty, they don't have to rely on me for all of the things. Like I will be there to support you. I'll be your
Mhm.
coach. I'll be your mentor, and that's really exciting because we're almost building a coaching model that they can, whether it's an investment for them, a click and buy, but they can start today with everything they need that I've built over the years and thrive just at it as I have. So that is, man, that's been in the works for a while. So that's really exciting. And of course, with growth comes with its different challenges and
Right.
obstacles. And of course, we've got, numbers for how many clients we want and how many employees we want. But I really think they all boil down to, okay, how are we going to grow as an organization and what are we going to learn? What are we going to learn? I think that's a big one.
Well, that sounds like we can have ourselves a nice follow-up conversation, have you back on and talk about all these processes once these things come and these ideas come to fruition.
Yeah, for
Nate,
sure.
I appreciate you greatly taking time coming on this month's episode and discussing with us your journey, your passion, and your successes in the commercial cleaning industry. Nate, you have a great following on LinkedIn. Is that the best place where people can interact with you on social media?
Oh yeah, LinkedIn I feel is the best place. I mean, I'm a fan of email, like that's the best way I communicate. But LinkedIn is a great spot just because I'm always trying to promote people and inspire people. I share insights. I engage with other business owners, and always enjoy connecting with people in that industry. So yeah, LinkedIn is a great spot.
And it's all positive, and it makes you really kind of think about some things. I think the first thing that caught my eye was a great post about how you were discussing about you being a family man. That hit me, and I was like, I got to give this guy a follow. And then came the article online, and just appreciate your time, your knowledge, and coming on here today with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
That will conclude this month's edition of the Business of Cleaning podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Also, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and your comments. From everyone at Janitorial Manager, our guest, Nate Lucht, I'm Tim Klein, saying so long. Until next time.